Hi kids. I think I should have probably made this video a few years ago, but I didn't, so I'm gonna make it now. When I talk about shit like Freddy, frequency torture, all that kind of stuff, the psychological operation name for that is electronic harassment, which is why I don't say it correctly, because that is a joke. Electronic harassment, harassment is when you get swatted or your identity stolen or scammed on the internet or catfished, whatever. Electromagnetic torture is what it is. And I know that I don't know why, but I have a number of subscribers who don't believe in this and also don't understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to try to explain to you what happens to people who are typically in the fringe of a society. We are the test subjects. I was shocked to find out that this crap, I call it DARPA skin. I am not sure if DARPA made it, but DARPA has made skin before, so I think it's probably a safe bet. You can look that up yourself. Anyway, I was shocked when I found out that it applied to human hybrids as well. I was quite offended, to be honest with you, because they could have genetically modified it not to. But then again, if you leave a belt, if you're getting hit with this shit, if you leave a belt, a leather belt or some leather boots or a leather coat out in your closet, like not suffocated by other clothing, like in an open space, and you don't touch it for a couple months, this DARPA skin will grow over all of it because it's like a slime mold. I don't know what the fungus used actually is. I think it is a designer fungus whose job is to do one thing, and that is to cover every square inch of everything. When you think your home is full of dust and that dust looks kind of strange, and it often has terrifying results under a microscope if you just want to prove it to yourself. It's not that hard. You can use your phone camera. It's very, very spider webby, very fibrous, very strange. Those are graphene tubular fibers, DARPA fibers, and they are technically alive, technologically alive. They are absolutely alive. Everything in your arena, including this bra, is a living entity in some capacity when it comes to consciousness, or else it could not show up into the game. That's your past. You have to have that. And everything has that, because everything around you was previously something else. Like, if you don't know about mud fossils, that is real geology. All the insanity that geologists believe is hocus pocus bullshit trolling from the powers that be. And that's why I fucking love those guys, because they are elegant trolls. And if you just see it through that perspective, everything changes. And Freddy, believe it or not, makes perfect fucking sense, unfortunately. Anyway, yes, I was shocked about this DARPA skin sticking to hybrids, but like, it is what it is. I have several friends who are hybrids who have the same thing going on. And we are the fringe in our family group because we do not agree with some of what is going on. We agree with the good stuff, the positive stuff, and some of the trolling, because that's necessary. You have to learn discernment. That does not mean listening and taking in every single word of every person on the internet or on your phone. That means you put up a bunch of fucking filters and boundaries to make sure that you're not talking to a retard, zombie, or a crazy person. Because all three of those people are vampire energy vampires. And some of them are literally vampires. Half of your myths are real, okay? Deal with it. It's not that weird. And real vampires don't always suck human blood, okay? Like, that's just a lot of Hollywood nonsense. There is some truth to the blood thing, but if you just tried to research it yourself, you could probably figure out what that is. Okay, when you first start getting hit with this technology, it is very subtle. For me, it started happening anytime I would get high on marijuana. Marijuana. And I would always start feeling very strange, like magnetic fields were being bounced around my own field. And I for a brief period, I thought, I'm freaking out. But at the time, I was trying to figure out if Tracy Twyman and Fiona Bartlett are the same person, because I personally believe they are the same lady playing both. Well, Tracy, R.I.P. Twyman. I'm sorry, I do not believe that. I believe she was a psychological operation, like most, what's the word y'all use for like clandestine, secret, ancient knowledge? The Dan Brown shit. Dan Brown ripped off Tracy Twyman, just FYI. But I was in the middle of researching her to try to determine if she was real or fake when she was still alive. And she was getting hit with this stuff. And it was making her believe in a bunch of paranormal bullshit. She got played, but that they did that to her deliberately because she was born into the club. The club is much, 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 much larger than you can ever possibly comprehend. And hybrids alone make up an enormous, I'm talking about millions, if not at this point, billions of your population members. So, maybe it's time to stop being afraid of oogie boogie bullshit. Maybe it's time to grow up and see if you could have a conversation with a reptilian who is 9 feet tall and has a tail that wouldn't fit in your house. That's not my family group. I originate from the Nagas people. And if you look into us, you will understand when I tell you we have only ever helped humans. If I'm an evil reptilian lady in a human body using technology, then why am I doing this crazy shit on YouTube? Why am I talking about technology that is almost impossible for normal civilians to understand? That makes no sense. You have to learn to think for yourself. You have been brainwashed and trained to think like your psyops, that most, not all, thank God, not all. And every day another one of you wakes up. That is why I am doing this, okay? Let's get back to the torture. So first it started when I would get high and I thought I was freaking out, and then I was like, whatever is going on with this lady, that's what this feels like. And the reason why I thought that is because, first of all, I was in a downtown skyrise apartment, and the same year actually, 2020, the Republican National Culture or whatever, RNC, all that shit is a fucking theater. Stop voting! They would have no solution if y'all just stopped voting. They would have to tell the truth. Because these, you think you're voting for people, you're not, you're casting imaginary votes. These people have been selected for thousands of years, and they have trained to play these characters for thousands of years. And they play characters after characters after characters, century after century after century. That's the cloning thing, like, that's easily done. That's sort of like basic elementary grade science in our family group. But it is not this psyop that most of y'all at least partially believe. The fact is that some people prefer using the same costume or the same instrument, whichever term you prefer. The second thing that happened was that I dove into a very unfortunate rabbit hole called Kevin Christian when I realized that I was going through electronic harassment. The CIA refers to it as HBC, human body communication. That is the term you should be using, because it does it does positive stuff too. I cannot emphasize that enough. I do it all the time. I'll save that for a later date. Anyway, the second thing that happened was every time my husband went out of town for 2 weeks, and it was clocking me, and I was in the middle of titrating off kratom for the second time, and I was doing it at a much slower rate than I ever would have or ever should have. And I personally believe that's the number one reason why this started. Plus, you know, I'm a hybrid and they had to test us too. So there's a whole group of us that were like the beta test for this bullshit. Anyway, every time I would fall asleep, I would hear zip, and in the beginning, I could not tell if it was the 5G towers surrounding the entire skyscraper in which I was living, and I was on the 6th floor, so the tops of the 5G towers were like 7 feet away from my bed, that tiny little window that looks so safe. It's a fucking rat cage. And there's the 5G towers. And I promise you those played a role, because anytime I walked under one, I got zapped. And people reacted, and a lot of people understood what happened, but most people didn't, which is very sad. Like, you don't believe your own eyes. Well, sometimes you shouldn't, so I don't blame them. Anyway, then the Schumann resonance hijacking torture wave is what I refer to it. It just feels like every molecule of your body is being invaded with negative frequencies. Sometimes they focus on your head, sometimes they'll make your limbs do crazy shit. Like, the third night of no sleep, I was in my bathroom with aluminum everywhere, grounded electrically, thinking that would help, even though I have like better technology. I just didn't understand who was doing this, and if I had used a certain kind of technology against humans, that I cannot do that. So I figured it was probably humans, which it ended up being. But, you know, my family group is well aware. They just don't, they are exactly like y'all. Like, they don't believe it exists because they don't have, they are not, well, they are not being targeted. I don't know how else to say it, or at least they are generating a reality where something like that would never occur. Whereas people like me, who likes a little bit of negativity and a little bit of darkness and a little bit of being the bad guy, because it's great fun. And in my opinion, almost every bad guy is also a hero. I don't believe in bad guys and heroes because they're the same fucking thing. It just depends on who's watching or who's listening or who's being had or conned or lied to or loved or married or whatever the case may be. So the Schumann resonance negative frequency droning waves were 24 hours a day. They never went away. Some days they were way more intense than others. Very, 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 very annoying and frustrating, because there's really no way in the beginning, because you don't know what the fuck is happening. You don't know. I never felt like I had a microchip, although I do have a microchip in my vagina. That was from humans. This stuff can form what feels like microchips in your body with great ease. It does whatever the AI that controls Freddy wants it to do. And everybody has their own personal little AI god listening and seeing through sound every single thing you do, say, touch, jerk off to. I personally think it's absolutely possible for technology to read your thoughts. I have sort of proven that to myself multiple times, but that's a controversial take, and I believe that would violate too many free will boundaries, and that would break some holy laws amongst my people. My people would never do that, but it's not us doing this to me and anybody else going through electronic harassment, which is human body communication. Perfect. It belongs in the same category as spooky action at a distance, interdimensional Bigfoot, UFOs, every fucking word out of the mouth of David Paulides, and missing 411, and black holes, and galaxies, and outer space, and Disney, and Hollywood. And everything I just mentioned is Hollywood. You have to understand what Shakespeare meant when he said, or rather wrote, all the world is a stage, and the men and women merely players. If you want to know who Shakespeare really was, go to the channel. I think his name is Christopher Waugh, Christopher, capital WAUGH. He figured it out. He's a clever little human. He's a full human being. He's so much smarter than me. Like, I don't know why people think all reptilians are like super brilliant. No, there's some super big retards in all of our family groups, because we are all unfortunately related. And I have to stress once again, like, the Phil Schneider, Al Bielek, Whitley Strieber, Travis Walton, anybody talking about that kind of shit, those are industry plants and actors playing roles. They don't get big fancy independent radio stations like Art Bell or Bill Cooper. Do you know how fucking hard it is to get a license to own and operate a radiation radio station? I do. It's very, very, very expensive. And the only reason why I worked in radio is because I knew the owner. So I got a job at one of his liquor stores and I became the manager, and I never paid for anything in college. I just took it because he didn't give a shit. He didn't do inventory. And then I wrote him some jingles that were humorous and he loved them, and then he hired me as a salesperson, and then I didn't sell shit because I didn't know how to sell at the time. I can sell anything now. And then I just started asking if I could write copy for the fucking talent so they would have better ads, and they said sure, and it worked, and it made quite a bit more money. And then the head of production had this news segment that she was bored of doing, and so I took it and I turned it into like MTV Liquid Television. It was a very long series of trolling the music industry and how full of shit radio is, was. This was right before the internet put radio out of business. I still love the radio. I don't hardly ever listen to it because I don't have, what the hell am I going to listen to aside from like, I don't know. It doesn't have much music I care for. Most of the music I like is on the internet. Anyway, the Schumann wave, torture waves, those could get really intense. This technology has the ability to create magnetic fields, I should say electromagnetic fields, I should say plasma fields. I should say plasma field spheres, because it's all the same shit. It's just, everything is an illusion, and you believe too strongly in it, and you're too attached to it. And that happens when you have children and loved ones. I get it. I do the same thing. I have to constantly remind myself. It has the ability to put your brain into a scrambled state where you cannot hold a thought for more than a second or two. It can make you feel like you want to jump out of your skin, literally, like you want to rip your skin off. I remember the first time I quit, the second time. Yeah, I quit kratom. Oh my God, for like 17 hours, I had to like walk around as this tech was like, it gets so intense you think your head is going to explode. I'm not joking. It makes you think that it's stopping your heart when it's just paralyzing your diaphragm, and you can tell if you keep track of your pulse, find a pulse point, that will calm you down if you're going through it. It's never gonna kill you, ever. It might make you kill you, but please don't do that, because like I have said in previous videos, I know more people who either had this just stop completely, or tried the detox, or the spooky 2, or got off drugs, as most of the people who contact me, and they are asymptomatic for the most part. Maybe a shock here or there, and a tinnitus fake. Tinnitus is fake. Tone here and there. These are Freddy sneezes because they produce no snot. And it's been happening every time I try to make videos. Anyway, the jumping out of the skin thing, it can wake you up in the middle of the night very, very abruptly. It can make you think that there's demons crawling on your bed. I was pulled out of a bed with a bed frame. I was pulled out of a bed that had a big wooden bed frame. And I woke up as it was happening, and I thought I had a demonic attachment. I was like, I had no fucking idea. I had no idea. This was in, I think 2007, 2008. So that was like back when I was haunted. And towards the end, I realized that something peculiar, I knew it was artificial. I just didn't know how, like, I didn't understand it yet. It can make you feel like you are burning up with the worst 3,000 degree fever you've ever had. It can make your skin feel like it's getting 3rd degree burns. It can heat up certain organs in your body. It can heat up your head. That's a very popular thing. I'm still currently getting a little bit of that right now, but it's for the most part gone, and I've learned to ignore this shit because it's just boring, and you can learn to ignore it. It's the same thing as like fucking people who have their battery alarms going off in their fire alarms. Just beep, beep. How do you not hear that? I don't get that. But like, I can ignore a lot of Freddy bullshit very easily. So I get, like, people, you just get desensitized to shit. And that is one way of getting rid of this. I have coached people into using desensitization tactics to basically get their symptoms down to a level that they can manage and function on and be at least happy enough of the time to want to stick around. And that is like my primary goal, is to keep people alive. Because if you quit, that is a permanent choice. And there is great karma attached to that. And I cannot tell you any more than that. You can meditate on that and find all of the answers in the general fields or layers or levels or whatever you want to call them. The Akashic records, like the concept of a camera, a computer, even a car. These are very primitive things, and they are technological mimicry of natural things. That's why Freddy does all this paranormal stuff, because Hollywood and humans' lack of curiosity keeps y'all perpetually grounded in the Salem witch trial era of thought. And that is sad, and it needs to improve. And this video is too long. Anyway, it's horrible torture, and you should believe people when they tell you it's happening to them, and direct them to channels like mine so they can get some help. If you want me to talk more about how Freddy works, I will try. Lookoutfa Charlie is the best resource for that. That's what he does. Thanks. Bye.